I'm president of the League of Women Voters of Litchfield County. We're thrilled to be doing this debate here in Morris, and we're thrilled to be working with both the town committees, the Democratic Town Committee and the Republican Town Committee. So this is a joint effort of three bodies. And I want to thank you, the voters, for turning out, because this is so important that you hear your candidates and know why you're voting for them. A lot of people express ideas that municipal elections aren't very important. To me, they're really important. They're really the cornerstone of our democratic system. And it's the area where you, as a voter, as a citizen, can really create influence, whereas you're not going to do much in Washington, probably. So we have today here 4 timers who will be timing the questioners so that they don't go over their allotted time. We have ushers wandering around who will be collecting the questions for you. They bring the questions back to the question screeners who will get them into categories and then bring them up to the podium for our moderator. So our candidates are Kevin Curley and Thomas White. You all know them, I'm sure. So, and then our moderator is Bernie Harrington. He's from Goshen, and he is a former League of Women Voters president. And so we don't have microphones. This is just a recording, so everyone has to be quiet so you can hear the people speak. And I'll turn it over to Bernie now. Thank you.
Before we begin, and we don't have to stand if you don't want to, we're going to pledge allegiance to the American flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our first question is probably an easy one. What positive things are you going to say about your opponent?
Well, I have not really gotten to know Mr. Curley over the years that he's been here, but I must say he has a lot of enthusiasm and energy, and I'm glad he's starting to get involved in the town, getting on the Planning and Zoning Commission. It's nice to see some involvement, and I hope that continues. Myself, I volunteered for years in town committees, including the Anthem Lake Authority, the Van Lake Protective Association, Sandy Beach Commission, Library Board of Directors, Reading Room, all those. And when you volunteer like that, you learn how town government actually works, and it gives you the experience that you need to do a job such as the first selectman's job. Thank you.
Okay.
Kevin? One of the things that I respect and admire about Mr. White is I believe that he loves his town, like most of us do. For many years he's dedicated himself to volunteering to various positions, as he mentioned. He's shown a commitment, an investment with his family, putting his children in the school system. It's that kind of investment to the community that helps build our community.
I each have 1 minute to either respond or elaborate on what you just said, or you can skip it.
I'll skip.
Yeah, I'll skip as well.
Okay. Another question. This starts with Kevin. How will you work to bring cell phone service to West Morris?
Okay. So most of you folks know, some of you don't. I happen to live in West Morris. And one of the major concerns for residents in that area is that we do not have reliable cell phone service. There's spotty service at times. There's multiple concerns to that. It's a quality of life. We all have cell phones. Many people have gotten rid of their landlines. And it's an emergency issue as well. Sometimes the 911 works, but at the same time, a lot of elderly people or young children would first call their family members. And not having cell phone service is a detriment. It also is something that can encourage investment in our community. Somebody wants to buy a home, somebody wants to build a home. a developer wants to develop an area responsibly with a number of homes. It's 2019, and it's about time that we as a town work to invest in our people by allowing a cell phone tower to be created in that area. I would try to find a cell phone contractor that would want to use the transfer station where we could possibly receive income. If that's not possible, I would lead the town resources to be used to connect a private property owner with the cell phone contractors to create a cell phone opportunity, period. Regardless of whether our town receives money, at this point, we just need to do the service for our residents, and it costs the town nothing.
Okay, as everyone probably realizes, there was an option on the property at the landfill for a cell tower. The option was brought to a town meeting, and the people at the meeting decided they did not want to continue with that option for a cell tower. And currently, there are no developers or carriers interested in putting cell service into the Lakeside or Westmore section of town. There is a private property owner that has an option on his property, and there are no carriers interested in putting up a cell tower there. I would propose that we work with Northwest Connect to bring fiber optic service to the northwest corner. Bringing the fiber optic into northwest corner, you'd get the cell service that you are looking for, almost seamless cell service. You'd also get internet, high-speed internet. And when you have that connection for internet, you could have businesses grow and stay right here in Morris instead of people leaving to bring their job elsewhere. The business would stay right here in Morris. Thank you.
Yeah, so one of my concerns about what Mr. White said was we had a town referendum in which the town-wide body decided that they did want a cell phone tower at the transfer station. That was subsequently overturned with a town meeting. As far as democratic process, whether it's that or something else, I don't believe that having a town meeting to overturn a referendum is the most democratic way of making a decision.
Well, it's interesting. I'll go back to what I just previously said. There are no carriers interested in providing service to a small area like we have in West Morris. The transfer station is still there. The property is still there. No one is coming to the town at all. In fact, they're not going to that parcel of land near the transfer station on private property to put up a cell tower either. Again, the technology is changing. We have to change with the times. Support the new technology. Let's get seamless cell service in our northwest corner.
I think that when we decided to have a town meeting to vote down a town referendum, we probably sent a message to the cell phone contractors that we are closed for business. Now, I can't dispute, I didn't communicate with the cell phone contractors, and I don't think any of us necessarily have that information, but I'm pretty sure that when you vote down the space in a small town meeting, you send a message to those developers that we're not interested.
Okay, any more questions? Anyone? Another question. What is the most effective way of keeping the residents of the town informed, either through social media, websites? What ways would you improve or change the way people are informed in the town today?
Well, I think social media has its place to keep people informed, but not everyone is on social media. Not everyone actually uses the internet either. We just got onto a new website, a new platform, CivicLit. It's a wonderful website, very easy to use. We're going to populate that website with as much information for the townspeople as we possibly can. But you can't stand on that alone. Yes, use social media, use our website, but you have to rely on radio and newspaper and newsletters and the sign in the center of town. That's the way you get the word out to the people.
So I think there's a multifaceted approach. The internet's part of it, social media is part of it. I'll give Mr. Wyke his due, keeping that board up there has been very helpful. On planning and zoning, I've advocated that both our town hall and our fire department and our school are capable of having a digital board. That's been very effective in some other towns. And if we have the resources to do that, a lot more information can be fed through that if we decide to do that. On the topic of social media, one of the first things I would do as first selectman is I would relinquish control of our social media page to the town clerk's office. My goal in there would be to separate the politics of the Board of Selectmen from our social media platform, because as people know, that has been a challenge in civil discourse in the past few years in our town. And I'd love to see the town clerk's office, because I think we can all agree that whether it was Ann or Carolyn or Lori and Sue, our town clerk's office has always operated as a non-political and welcoming place. And this would be a place where social media, when somebody goes on it, they don't believe that it's the selectmen that they have a gripe with who's they're receiving information back and forth from. They're going to expect that it's Lori that they're communicating with, or Sue. And I think that that could help alleviate some of the tensions in town and create a more respectful environment for communicating.
Yeah, it's interesting to call an office non-political. I don't think you can really do that. It depends on who's in that office, I would assume. If you look back on the Town of Morris Facebook page and look back on all the postings on there, you'll see there are no political postings. You've got lost dogs, you've got road closed, you've got road work being done. All these notices getting out to the people. It's not a political page. And I think that's the way it should remain. The problem is, going with the town clerk's office, what happens when you have to close the road at 11 o'clock at night? Are you going to call up Lori to post that for you? Are you going to call up Sue to post that for you? A lost dog at 2 in the morning. Who's going to do that for you? I don't think the town clerk's office is the place to have that done.
So to rebut, that information is simply untrue. The town social media page has shared political articles. It's controlled by 2 selectmen right now, not all 3. So it is political, because we will have 3 selectmen and they will be from different parties. So there is no way for the selectmen to share this. And I disagree with the town clerk's office being political. I've lived here for 8 years, and it's been nothing but non-political and welcoming in there.
And I would respectfully disagree. I've lived here for 54 years, and I have seen offices in this town hall become political. And that's not the place to put the social media. I believe we've done a great job informing the people with our Facebook page, and it's been very effective.
Okay, another question. If elected or continued in office, how would you ease the tax burden of individual property owners in this town?
Is that for me?
Yep.
I think fiscal responsibility, and that's what we've been doing for the past 4 years. Our administration has received a $400,000 Small Cities grant. Local people in our town have used that grant to improve their homes, to put on a roof, septic system, whatever it may be. I think there was about 7 families that used that grant, totaling $250,000 worth of improvements to their properties. We've also received a steep grant for the firehouse renovation. We have a $150,000 steep grant for the Smoky Hollow Bridge, which Karen Paradis got back in 2011. We're using that grant to help pay for the Smoky Hollow Bridge. Also, my involvement with the Smoky Hollow project has saved the town $133,000. If you're not there to do the job, and you don't go after the money that you need to get, you're not going to save the money for the townspeople.
We are at a critical juncture with our taxes, and they need to be reduced. They need to be reduced for a few reasons. One, we're starting to discourage our fixed income retirees from staying in town and not fleeing to Florida, leaving more empty homes. We're discouraging young families who are looking at what the monthly bill will be on their mortgage when they pay each month, when they decide if they're going to build a home or purchase a home in this town. I think one of the first things we need to do is we need to reduce our taxes over the next 2 to 4 years to encourage interest in our community. Our municipal budget has increased 24.2% in the past 4 fiscal years. That's simply unsustainable. If that was a home that was being run that way, it wouldn't last in its budget very long whatsoever. So, if we want to encourage businesses to build a building, if we want to encourage families to purchase a home, retirees to stay here another 5 years before they may decide to go somewhere else, we have to lower the cost of living in this town. And some tough decisions are going to have to be made on what we purchase and how we spend our money. And I think a more balanced approach to our budget process and our spending and the projects that we pursue is going to be necessary to lower this tax rate.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned lowering the mill rate. He has proposed lowering our mill rate by 4 mills over 2 years. That is $1.4 million you'd have to take out of our town budget. And it would come from the town budget, not the school budget. So I would love to hear which departments we've closed to lower our mill rate by 4 mills and reduce $1.4 million. It would be the fire company, the beach and rec commission, the library, the treasurer, the assessor, the transfer station, the senior center, and the town clerk. And that's only $865,000. Where are you going to get the rest of it? I'd like to hear that answer.
So, I don't plan on closing any departments. I plan on spending more responsibly and creating interest and generating more tax revenue in the same time. So anyways, as far as areas to cut, salary is going to have to be cut, health benefits, and that would be starting at my position myself. I plan on reducing the first selectman's position by 40%. I plan on looking at public works to manage their budget more responsibly. That's okay.
In the next 5 years, or even 3 years, what capital projects do you see as a need for in Morris? And how are you going to pay for them?
So one of our largest capital projects that we see coming is a new fire engine, as I've heard. And we need to start putting money away. We've decided on doing a lot of different projects, and some of them we had grant money and some it was time for. We purchased a property just north of this building. I would have reconsidered something like that when money needed to be put into the purchase for a future fire truck. Some different decisions are going to have to be made, and they're going to be small. My understanding in the past, money had typically been put away yearly by the Board of Finance for these capital non-recurring projects. Tough decisions are going to have to be made. Whether it's increasing a treasurer's or a tax collector's salary, whether it's increasing the first selectman's salary, that money is going to add up. And I think a better place for it was putting into capital. Once again, the decision over here to purchase this property, when we're not capable of putting a lot of money away for these capital non-recurring debts or budgetary situations, we have to decide to plan better. We can't do it all, and we need a more balanced approach to our spending and saving.
Well, it's interesting, the purchase of the property next door was brought to a town meeting where the people who vote in this town voted to purchase that property. He talks about reducing our mill rate and taking out $1.4 million. How are you going to fund capital non-recurring when you're cutting our budget by $1.4 million? That's over 1/3 of the municipal budget right now. You're talking about slashing departments severely. It would be a financial disaster for our town. I'd say we need to fund our capital non-recurring better. We need to put more into it over the years. We have a culvert on Sandy East Shore Road that has to get replaced. That's probably $400,000 to $600,000. We have a wall at the transfer station that needs to be replaced. That's a couple $100,000 right there. Yes, engine 5 over at the firehouse. That's probably going to be $700,000. You need the plan. You need a 10 to 15-year plan, and that's what we have. We have it in place. We're putting the money away for these projects, and that's good fiscal responsibility.
Yeah, our municipal budget's increased 24% in 4 years, and the vast majority, that significant majority, has gone to now projects, not to putting away for capital non-reoccurring projects in 10 to 15 years from now. So to be clear about my plan of lowering taxes, my plan is a gradual plan within the 2 years. It's not a drop-off immediately. And to be very clear, money that we decrease on our education budget and education surpluses would be going back to the town residents.
Well, it's interesting, that money from the education budget, that's not written in stone. That could change in a matter of 2 months with a family of 5 moving into our town, a family of 6 moving out of Goshen, or a family of 4 moving out of Warren. It could change that dramatically. So you're talking $366,000 in the next 2 years, reduction maybe from Region 6. That doesn't add up to $1.4 million. I think in your math on how much our budget has gone up over the last 4 years, it's only 16%, not 24%. We realized we had to make up for over $500,000 loss in educational cost sharing money from the state. And those came from cuts to our town budget. We're trying to make fiscal responsible ideas here, make them work for our town.
Our share of the Region 6 education budget went down $500,000 in the same time we lost the $500,000 from the state. So our share decreased by the same amount of money in which we lost in grants. So I don't really see that. We got that money back, and that money did not go back to the taxpayers when our education budget. Some of it did, and some was spent on current projects.
If either of you will be the next first selectman, is it a full-time or a part-time job, and what do you consider the main responsibilities as first selectman?
Well, in my 4 years as first selectman here in town of Morris, it is a full-time job. I regularly put in at least 44 hours a week on the clock. That doesn't count all the night meetings, the weekend phone calls, the weekend meetings. You need to be available to do what is best for the town. You need to be very involved in this position. If you're not here, you can't make the decisions that need to be made for our town. If it's going to be a part-time position, you're not going to see the cost savings at Smoky Hollow Bridge for $133,000. You're not going to be over at the firehouse to make sure that stays on budget. You need to be doing the job you are elected to do, you are hired to do. The staff at our town hall has their own work to do. They shouldn't be doing the first selectman's work. The first selectman should be doing that work himself, or herself. Thank you.
So I see the first selectman's position as a manager of people, and out of respect for Public Works and for the fire department, I think that there's a lot of people that can oversee the projects that they've been tasked with. While checking in with them and having standing meetings about where the project is at or what needs to be included or adjusted, that can happen. But the first selectman is not the Public Works director, and they are also not the president of the fire company. And so I think it's a dedicated position. And honestly, I would probably end up working full-time hours myself. But I don't think it actually demands full-time hours. I think if you look at the totality of a year, I think that the average work week would be less than 37.5 hours. But more important to this conversation is the question of how the position went from a $40,000 a year cost to our town to a $100,000 a year cost to our town. I'm a balanced, middle-of-the-road person, and it went from a position where simply somebody got a salary to now a complete full package. It wasn't added just health benefits and then maybe balance off by not having salary increases. It went the whole gamut, okay? I believe that I can be a dedicated servant to this town, trust and respect the people that I hired or were hired to do these jobs and manage them appropriately with not being everywhere at every time. Because once again, we hired these people to be representatives of our town because they are qualified, hard workers. It should be in their hands.
Well, perhaps someone with a business degree and many years of experience managing personnel would be able to reduce the hours, but Kevin has none of that. He's telling us that he's going to put the responsibilities of the first selectman's office onto volunteers, like at the fire department. They're all volunteer over there. They're not getting paid. Why should they do your work? You have to go to meetings at the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, the Council of Small Towns, Northwest Council of Governments. You meet with Chris Leone at Region 6 on a monthly basis with the other two first selectmen from Warren and Goshen and now Litchfield. DOT meetings down at the bridge. You have to be there. Department of Public Health. You're meeting with them over every couple weeks. The DEEP about the health and safety on Bantam Lake. You need to be involved. You need to do the job. You can't push it off on everybody else.
Yeah, I'm personally confused because I just got told that meetings weren't on the clock, and now meetings are on the clock. To be very clear, I don't care whether the town calls it a full-time or part-time job. I think it should be paid at a more balanced rate for our taxpayers. At the end of the day, when your taxes go up and the three people standing or sitting behind the table get their salaries increased to cover the taxes that they laid upon you, that's unfair. So I'm ready and I'm excited to do a good job, be at these meetings and be dedicated, but get paid a more reasonable salary.
Okay. Another question. What are your plans to eradicate the weeds in Bantam Lake?
Is that for me?
Well, I think you're
I think we need to continue to work with the Bantam Lake Protective Association. I was on the board of directors there some years ago. I was on the Bantam Lake Authority for about 30 years. Continue to work with Bantam Lake Protective, the coalition, which is made up of the town of Morris, White Memorial, and Bantam Lake Protective, to fund the maintenance of the lake, which it is right now. We also need to bring Litchfield into this mix. They were part of the coalition years ago. They did step back from it over probably 8-9 years ago. They need to be part of it. They need to help fund what we're doing at Bantam Lake. And I've reached out to the hopefully future leaders in Litchfield. I sat down and I met with a group of Litchfield residents. We talked about the problems on Bantam Lake. We need to work together as a region. It's a regional asset. It's the largest natural lake in the state of Connecticut. It's a heritage lake. It's a beautiful resource for all of us. So we all need to be involved in making it happen. I've also reached out to the DEP commissioner. I said, what's the state going to do to help us with this lake? We need more money. We need more resources. So please, what are you going to do to help us? And also about safety on Bantam Lake. We've had 2 severe accidents on the lake in the past year. What can the DEP do to help improve safety there also? Thank you.
So before I forget to mention, I don't believe the Bantam Lake Authority, when was the last time they met? I don't believe they met in a, I don't want to be incorrect, but I think it's a couple years or a few years now. So it would be great to put the Bantam Lake Authority together again. Clearly, there are now 3 large participants in Bantam Lake: Morris, Litchfield, and now the state of Connecticut. My understanding of the number is it's $25,000 a year that we pay towards the lake. Bantam Lake residents are upset, rightfully so. They feel that they are one of our larger tax bases, they're being taxed at a greater rate, and, no, I'm at the 2 minutes, right?
No, this was his opening too, he gets to.
Oh, yeah, no worries, that's okay. And I believe that what's been expressed to me from Bantam Lake residents is we pay higher taxes, and we feel like we get $25,000 back for it, and they don't feel comfortable. So the state and Litchfield need to become equal participants. Simply having meetings with them, and not to disrespect your work, Mr. White, but that hasn't been solved in the past 4 years. And they need to come to the table, especially Litchfield.
I think it's very important to sit down and actually have meetings with people you're asking money from. It goes a long ways in order to get that money. That's why I've sat down and met with Litchfield residents and one of the candidates running for first selectman in Litchfield. There's a commitment there now. We haven't seen that in 16 years from Litchfield. There's a commitment that they will come in and be a partner with the town of Morris, with the Bantam Lake Protective Association, and White Memorial. And I think that's a very good start to seeing a little more work being done for Our Lake.
That's a verbal commitment from you. I haven't yet, as a resident, seen that from Litchfield or the state of Connecticut. So I wasn't in the meetings, but we haven't actually been committed to.
Okay, another question. As you see the school districts under Region 6 in both Morris and Goshen and Warren merging, what do you see as the advantages, disadvantages of doing that? And what about the advantages and disadvantages of uniting the town more in terms of their public works and other services they might be able to share?
Yes. So I'm a transplant here, and I don't have some older concerns about Litchfield and Morris combining school districts like some residents may have. There are disadvantages and there are advantages, but this is going to be part of a negotiation process that's going to eventually have to happen. At this point, it's not sustainable financially to have two secondary education facilities essentially across the street from each other. Our per pupil cost for Region 6, I believe, is about $24,000 right now. It's about $10,000 over the state average. Some of the tough negotiations are going to have to be what representation do we have at Board of Education? It's going to be a lot of moving parts to this between the school districts. There's going to be a lot of questions about which school town keeps its elementary school. I will be fighting for James Morris Elementary School to maintain. I do not want to redistrict our elementary schools, but I do believe that we have both a financial and an educational duty to look into and actually make moving works of combining Litchfield's and our Region 6 secondary education programs. There will be more resources for our children, and at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. As for concerns about Litchfield's strength, once the negotiations are settled and whether they have a larger say, I think as we've seen in a regional school district, once we separate an individual town out into multiple towns, we find that there's actually a pretty balanced approach to people making decisions.
Well, I've been fortunate enough to been brought